So this is a picture of wildebeest. It is intended to try and convey a sense of friction. All these wildebeests are all rubbing up against each other, waiting to go across a river in Africa and hope to not be eaten by an alligator. Friction is something that we're very focused on at Walker & Dunlop. Trying to figure out how to take friction out of the borrowing process, how to take friction out of the buying process. What can we do as a company to try and take friction out of your interaction with us in the process of transacting your business? Companies that have figured out how to remove friction are winning in today's economy. So the first one, which I mentioned previously, is obviously Amazon. Amazon figured out how to make the retail experience frictionless. Sitting in your home, going on a computer, ordering something, it shows up at your doorstep, and Amazon is in the process of taking over all of retail and potentially other things. The second example, which we talked about back in 2011 at this conference, where I put up a big slide on Uber and my personal shift from carry limousines over to Uber, and had a lot of people be like, you use that app? Obviously the world has changed a little bit. On the Uber side, Uber obviously took the friction out of getting into a taxi. Took the friction of hailing a taxi out of the picture. It took the friction of figuring out whether it was a good taxi cab driver. And finally, it took the friction out of paying. How many people love the fact that you don't have to reach in your pocket to pull out your credit card when you get out of an Uber or a Lyft? Isn't that, I mean, of all the things, it's great to have it there on time, but for me, that get out and go is like the best part of taking an Uber. I still take taxi cabs all the time, but I hate the fact that I gotta go and give my credit card and wait and sign the thing. And in New York, you're sitting in this cramped little thing and you're poking the thing. Anyway, Uber did that. It took the friction out of that. Peloton. Many people in this room know Peloton. Many of you have Pelotons. If you listen to how Peloton got started, there's a great podcast that I've actually circulated to a couple people in this room about John Foley, the founder of Peloton. And the whole idea behind Peloton came about because John Foley's wife said to him, will you do me a favor, go online and sign me up for my spin class tomorrow morning? And John Foley forgot to do it. A couple hours later, his wife's like, did you sign me up for my spin class tomorrow morning? He said, oh, I forgot. She goes online and all the seats are gone. And she gets pissed off at him and he sits there and he goes, hang on a second. You mean there are only 20 seats? And she has to sit there and wait to try and get her spot in the class with the instructor that she wants. Why don't we turn that all around? And rather than having friction about trying to get a seat in a studio with the instructor you like, take that studio environment, take that instructor you like, and give it to everybody. Friction. John Foley saw that there was friction in getting that seat, and he created Peloton and turned the whole dynamic on its head. So the final example is Warby Parker. So I have these glasses, which I took off to do this presentation, but they have progressive lenses in them, and I bought them at Warby Parker. I went to an optician in Washington and said, I need a new pair of glasses. They said, what are those? I said, I bought them at Warby Parker. This guy looks at me, he's like, oh, they're terrible. They're not the high quality that we are, and those lenses probably aren't any good. So he takes them to the back, he looks at the lens, he comes back, he says, they actually did a really good job. I said, yeah, they work really well. And they cost me like $250, and you want me to spend $800 on this like high-end pair of glasses that you have. So I've been really good with my Warby Parker progressives, and then all of a sudden I said, I need some sunglasses that have my progressive lenses in them. So I'm in New York 3 weeks ago, walking down 6th Avenue, I'm on a phone call, and I walk by the Warby Parker store. I say, I need sunglasses, I need the progressives in them. I wonder whether I can jam in going in there and getting a pair and getting out really quickly. I walked into Warby Parker, I looked at a pair of lenses, a pair of frames, I put them on, I said, I like these frames. Can I get these with my progressive lenses in them? They said, of course, have you bought from us before? I said, yes, gave my name. Woman says, how do you want to pay? I handed her my credit card, she swipes it, I sign it, she says, where do you want them sent? I said, please to Sun Valley, Idaho, where I will be in 2 weeks. She says, oh no, they'll be there in 4 days. I said, okay, just send them to Sun Valley, Idaho. I was in and out of Warby Parker in 4 minutes, and that is not an exaggeration. 4 minutes to buy a new pair of prescription sunglasses. And I love them. And they cost me $305. And they were in our P.O. box here in Sun Valley 4 days later. Warby Parker has figured out how to take the friction out of buying glasses. The one other thing I talk about all those brands is that I walked into the Cherry Creek Mall in Denver last week, and as I'm walking through the Cherry Creek Mall, to my right is a Tesla store, not a dealership, a Tesla store. Across the way is a Peloton store, and next to them is a Warby Parker store. These are brands, these are companies that have figured out how to take friction out of the retail experience, and they are winning. So what are you doing with your business to take the friction out of renting one of your apartments? Taking the friction out of leasing one of your retail spaces? Taking the friction out of renting or leasing some of your office space? How can you take that friction out? Because those companies that figure out how to get friction out of the system are going to win. Final thing I'd say is go back to the videos I talked about. Getting Lance and George to do that video for me. There's friction there. I gotta know them really well. I gotta ask my buddies to do that video. Gilbert Godfrey, $150, 4 hours later, I've got the perfectly made video. Cameo.com has taken the friction out of that process.